Quick sound check. Can everybody hear us loud and clear? What's going on, Coach Paul?
Hey, Coach Jay. Happy holiday, Columbus Day, Indigenous Peoples Day, and a bank holiday. Um, but we don't work for a bank, so we are trading today.
Markets are open. Welcome, everybody. Happy Monday. Welcome to At the Buzzer, our market recap. If this is your first time here, I'm Coach Jay. That is Coach Paul. The goal of this segment is to review what happened in the markets for the day. We may talk about some markets that you have not traded before, but we believe our goal as traders is to identify opportunity, see how we could have taken advantage of those opportunities while managing our risk. This is our first time meeting. I am Coach Jay. I've been a Topstep Performance Coach since June of 2023. I've been trading for the last 12 years and been trading in the futures markets for the last five. And that is Coach Paul. Coach Paul, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Coach Paul. I've been with Top Step for a year and a half. Been a performance coach at the time, and also I've been involved in the futures industry for 4 decades. I'm here to help with some of my experience, perhaps some wisdom, and help our traders either improve or get across the line and become funded.
Absolutely. So let's get into it. Today being a bank holiday, it was very quiet on the news front as well. Not too much to discuss. Not much planned news out as well. We know we have Fed members speaking, but that's kind of all the time. Last comment I see from Waller that the latest inflation data is disappointing. I think we have earnings season starting, Coach. Bank earnings starting next week, so those will be important to look at. But as far as news goes today, fairly quiet. Uh, let's get into.
Yeah, it's all up if you were long or short. So S&P's up 50. Um, so some movement. So let's begin.
Let's begin. Hold on one second. All right, we're good to go. So let's look at the top percentage movers on the day. There are about 35 markets that we can trade with top step accounts, not just in the equities. And keeping with the trend of the energies being our biggest percentage movers, to the downside, we have heating oil down 2.75%, soybean oil down 3.09%, and nat gas down 5.47% for our biggest percentage mover to the downside. To the upside, we have the NASDAQ up 0.81%. The S&P is making a new all-time high up 0.84%, and platinum, our biggest percentage mover to the upside at 1.16%. Let's get into the equities, Coach. It didn't feel like an all-time high day, but I was talking in the chat earlier, YouTube chat. This rally felt a lot like the week of July 4th, where we had lower volume, markets making all-time highs, but kind of anticlimactic, right? We're just kind of going to grind higher, and when you look at your charts, it's at a price that we've never traded before. Um,
Yeah, it
very
was a
Go
it
ahead.
started it started last night.
Yes, it
Once
did.
again, power bar above the 200. Um, we did wick sometime later in the night for a new low, but as we talked before, volume didn't follow. Um, and as soon as Europe opened up, we never looked back. Um, Broke out of that opening half an hour, and like you said, it was the March. U.S. Open was a big rally, and once again the slow March. It's a good opportunity for buying. Um, there were some good sells there. If you're a good counter trend trader, that's not me. Um, but all in all, it's a pretty solid day in the S&P, and shock of shocks, an all-time high.
Uh, Right now, I have the Nasdaq up, and Nasdaq and S&Ps did very similar. Like Coach just said, when London opened up, and I anchored another VWAP here, we're gonna mark that one green. That's the London Open, and you know, Globex Open, very choppy market, not Volume not leaving this range, as Coach mentioned, even though price did. I actually think I said it in Coach Dakota's slow markets that I was looking to buy the NASDAQ at around 20,400. I didn't pull the trigger uh, because I didn't have a signal to pull the trigger. But as price was kind of pushing down towards the lows of that range, we've seen this be that, fade the extremes of the range move. I just didn't feel comfortable taking that trade last night. But once London opened, that urgency, coach,
Yeah,
urgency volume left that range very early and did not look back on the 30-minute period. And then just a really nice push in the NASDAQ. I do have a question from Chauncey about a failed auction, right? And this is something that Hogue mentions all the time. It's market profile talk, and it's based around the initial balance, which is the first hour of trade for the market that you're trading, right? So if we're looking at the New York session, we have the first hour of trade. We're going to identify the high and the low. That's considered the initial balance, right? So this white box is now our initial balance. We have the high at 20,680 and the low at 20,538. What a failed auction is price trading outside of this range and not getting continuation, right? So you can have either failed upside auctions or failed downside auctions. In this case, we had a failed downside auction where price tried to trade lower than the range and sellers were not able to take control, right? So this is a failed auction, and what Hogue is looking for once this fails is a test of the other side of the initial balance, right? We didn't get the full rotation, but you can see the market tried twice to sell below this range. It couldn't. We got a little volume anomaly here, coach, right
well,
at 11. Go ahead.
I was looking at that J trade,
Yep.
and actually, a J trade inside of failed downside auction. What is, just to give a little more flavor to that? Think about it. The first, traditionally, the first hour is going to have 70% of the range, and so it's it was buying. We come down to the bottom of that. They try to sell it. Think about it. There's no stops there. There's and there was volume. So we got most like there's that heavy volume after the opening, selling volume. It just stops dead. Wicks. Classic J trade.
If we look at this, coach, and I'm going to change this up a little bit so we can actually see a little clearer. We don't need that to be like that. All right. So this green line is now VWAP anchored to the New York session open. We can see it was a really nice opening range 3-minute breakout, right? Again, that urgency, first 3-minute candle, we broke out, price close outside. That VWAP was a support and a really nice, 100-point move in a couple minutes. But as we continue to push the highs here, volume stopped moving with the markets and started to flatten out, which we've seen mean that the markets are going to start to range. So as we push back down towards the low of that range, that failed volume move is a really strong signal. Uh, they had to test it twice. So if you bought up here at the highs, you may have been stopped out on this trade, where this was a 40-point pullback. And even with two ATRs, if you bought the high of this failed selling here, you would have gotten stopped out. But that happens, right? We don't put on any guarantees in the market. We put on trade ideas, but it gave you another opportunity to do so. And seeing sellers fail down here again, I may have been, inclined to buy this again on the breakout because you just go with the probabilities. But this one would have been a stop out.
Well, another thing is, coach, looking at VWAP,
Mhm.
we were what about 2 ATRs away from VWAP. Average true range is ATR. The VWAP is the yellow line. We're away from volume. So if you think about it, there wasn't a lot of volume on this break. There was a volume spike, but there wasn't enough volume to really push it. The volume wasn't at the low range. It was in the middle of the range. Um, so am I and looking at that, yeah, give it another shot. If you allocated your risk right and you have enough left in the day, take another shot. But I would say don't get short. I used to do that. That is not a good, from my experience, it never worked.
No. I think we did have a house account trade that was short. Nick and Dakota on this little bounce here, where we pushed into a major level 20,650, and on the retest of VWAP, which I really liked this trade. Nick was in it for a little while, and I think he cut it just because it wasn't moving in the time that he was looking for it to move. If we have the 3 minute opening range down here, we had VWAP leave it. We had a test of it, and on this second bounce, we're not seeing the buying that we saw initially to push us up here. We reject at this 650 level, and a really nice short back to the opening range, and then that kind of finished with this high volume spike that we saw here. But really nice trade on the house account. I think they made about 3 grand on this trade with a 5 lot short, uh, which again, they're just going with the momentum. The momentum kind of stopped and presented an opportunity to fade there.
I
And that 650 set somewhat the high of the range, right? We bounced right back up to 650 and did it the NASDAQ way where
boy.
we push it 20 points, but we reject it around there.
And this is, look at the NASDAQ. It's like the S&P was a different, a lot different.
A lot different.
But the NASDAQ doesn't respect technicals.
Anyone.
There's no respect. Yes.
Doesn't respect anyone. Like you said, coach, the ES looking a little bit different. So we'll go to the ES on a 30-minute chart as well. We can look at last night. The ES making new all-time highs, 59.18 half, new all-time high in the S&Ps, and does not look like it wants to stop anytime soon. We're above the 200 moving average on the 30-minute. The 20 and the 50 are in trend mode, which means they're not wrapped around each other, and the angle of them is increasing. Uh, and if we have last night's open, which is going to be this one here, we'll anchor VWAP to that. A lot different than the NASDAQ, right? Where even though we didn't leave the range until London either, looks a lot stronger, right? It looks a lot stronger. This VWAP holding as a support all the way up. Uh,
Yeah. And there was no failed downside auction. The complete.
no,
What was Tesla down today?
I believe so. I believe so. I
Oh,
did hear someone say it was down. I am not sure. If someone in the chat can confirm that for us, whether or not Tesla was up
th-
or down.
This feels like we were talking last week that the Tesla's holding the Nasdaq back. It's like it's an anchor. Um, Very interesting because that's a tale of two different profiles. Uh,
And we got confirmation in the chat that Tesla was down today.
all right.
I'll look it up. I'm seeing Tesla ended up positive today. Was
Okay.
down early in the day. There you
Okay. There we go.
down early and then it recovered. Okay, but yeah, in the last 5 days, Tesla's down. Definitely weighing heavy on the Nasdaq. We know we had that day last week where it opened up about 9% down. But like you said, Coach, the ES looking a lot different than the Nasdaq. Here is the New York session, and that initial balance that we had, right, failed. Hogue would probably consider this a failed upside auction. I know there is time taken into consideration with that as well. So for full, clarification on that, I would ask it as maybe a question for group coaching for Hogue because he does take time into consideration when considering a failed auction. I believe it's the next half hour after the initial balance is set. But on this pullback, we kind of held VWAP as somewhat of support. We held above 50% of the initial balance. Really no weakness at all. We did get that same volume spike that we got in the Nasdaq. you can see even here, we didn't test the lows of it, right? In the NASDAQ, we came back, tested the lows, ran the lows, and then kept going. In the ES, it gave us a much cleaner trade. And that's 7 points of risk on the other side of that failed volume for what was a slow trade, but kind of this still grind up move where, buying here, there's 23 points to the high of the day. Not saying that you would hold it for that long, but there's opportunity in that failed volume. Uh, Initial balance is the first hour of trade for the market that you're trading. So for the equities, it's going to be 8:30 to 9:30 Central Time. Right.
And usually the first hour incorporates on the biggest part of the range of the day.
Right.
It's the initial balance. That's where all and think about it, the orders come in at the opening. The biggest volume is almost always on the opening. There is no constant, but it's constantly the largest volume. Um, that's going to set the tone in the first hour, and then the rest of the distribution for the day. And you can judge it by the first hour. That's what that's for.
Anything else you got on the ES, coach? Uh,
Um, Nothing else coming in tomorrow. We're right off of all-time highs. Nothing bearish in that. Still, we're above the 200 bar moving average. It's looks very healthy. Um, but there's earnings. Was it earnings season?
Earnings start tomorrow. Uh, Going into tomorrow, there was this heavy volume up here. I saw Coach Hoop mention this in the chat as well. There was a ton of selling up here at these highs from 59.12 to 59.18. Someone selling 1,000 lots. Let's hear about the Dow. We will talk about the Dow. I actually traded the Dow today in my personal account and had a decent day shorting it somehow. But we will talk about the Dow. But pay attention to this range here in the ES 59.12 to 59.18 half, basically all time highs. There was a ton of selling that came in here, probably somebody profit taking, but have to imagine that there may be some shorts in this as well. So I want to watch how the market responds to this area here.
Yeah. Well, Columbus, that things seem to be a little exaggerated there. Um, Especially after a 50-point move. There's probably a lot of long liquidation, but once again, could be some earnings out. I just know there's earnings are coming. I'm a technician, so it's still in
Agree
a
with you.
bull market as it always is. It seems to be. Um, Other than that, nothing much to add. Tomorrow we'll come out of the holiday, and the banks will be back, and we'll see where we go from there.
Sent, I sent you the IB times on Discord, Topstep TV channel. I think I know what the IB times are. It's just the first hour of trade for each market. But if anyone wants what Greg shared there, it's in the Topstep TV channel. Uh, Here's the Dow. Here is the Dow. This is remember on Friday in the Dow we talked about that volume anomaly that was at
Mm.
5:30 Central Time. This is VWAP
Mhm.
from that. This red line is VWAP from whatever that volume anomaly was. Uh, Very interesting that we come back down and revisit that. Sometimes you don't clean your charts and you find little uh, intricacies like this. Here's the Dow again, 30-minute range. We didn't leave. I found that the Dow doesn't trade great volume during London the same way the S&P and the Nasdaq do. From my experience, I could be wrong, but a lot of times I'm seeing the volume come in during the New York session. and really nice. Uh, Eventually, when we got it, we had some selling coming in. Uh, that selling took us right down to that 2 day VWAP basically. Uh, Failed selling move, and coach, when we got a close above that,
Boy,
that was pretty much it.
that Dow does that a lot. That move to the other side to get everything leaning and scoop it up. Wow, did that hit all time highs also?
New all-time highs in the Dow as well, 43, 4, 41.5, 43, 41.5, 43,415. New all-time highs. And coach, when we before we got on, we were talking about, we had decent days, but could have been better days. I had a decent day shorting the Dow. If I just got with the trend early, could have had an easier and much better day, but it is what it is. Um, I ended the day profitable. Uh, Making money shorting this, I'm okay with, but sometimes you think, why did I have to work so hard?
Well, because going back, it looks easy, and this is the complete trap in thinking that it's just have to put these trades on, and it's easy looking back, but following a process, and in that process, taking losses, uh, b- and protecting your equity, your account equity, is the first and foremost in the hierarchy of success. Um, so when we were to do these reviews, I mean, don't get us wrong. This is not, we're not preaching that it's easy. We're looking at the flow of volume and prices. Um, I don't make money every day. Sometimes, more often than not, I lose money.
Same.
But my style is to take losses and let winners ride. Where I get into trouble myself is when I don't respect the loss and give it a little more room, or give it and I put in stops, and sometimes I'm gonna go, "Oh, I'll give it a little more room." um so being consistent is is the key. If you can't find consistency, um you're going to get caught in a random cycle at one time, and that's how we lose accounts. So remember, this is a review of the day. Um, Coach Jay and I share our perspectives. Um, but let's just put it here. I don't make money every day. Some days I lose more than I had wished. Some days I make more than I expected. But it all starts in creating your process.
We got some questions here in the chat. We got a fun one. Thanks, Andrew. And then, Coach, also for you, I want to go back to your stops, but I'm going to answer this fun question first. From H. Edward Harrington, how can I tell if you guys are real traders or not? We're actually AI. Um, the technology is getting so good that we are not real people. Um, shout out to Elon. He's doing a lot with technology and pushing the world forward with that. But we are not real. We are not
Um,
real.
I am I am robot, right? No,
Right.
yeah, be honest, there's no way you can. I'm not going to share you my live account. There's a lot of risk in that. Let's just be sure. I trade. I'm not the biggest trader, but I grind. And when I do well, I do really well. So there's really no way of telling that. But I will tell you this: I wouldn't waste my time doing this if I wasn't trading. I can say that straight up. Um, so
What I'll say, what I will share is my Topstep accounts. You can see it here. This is a XFA with Topstep. I'm down. Everybody knows that I'm down on this account and pretty close to the max loss limit on this account. I will show my progress with this. I do trade my personal account outside of this. I'm not going to share that the same way Coach Paul said he's not going to share his. But either way, right, for anybody who's here, the guy that I took trading classes from would say it all the time, just listen. If there's something that you can gain from this, then great, right? I know there's a lot of conversation about, influencers and educators and all this other stuff. I don't think Coach Paul and I do anything except try to educate here. I could have made $1 million today. That doesn't help you in your account if you can't learn from me how I did it. So, um, if there's something to learn, stick with us. If there's not, then that's okay as well.
Well said,
Uh,
Coach. Well,
so Coach,
Rashi asked,
yeah, go
oh,
ahead.
go ahead. Rashi asked, do we follow Bitcoin? Yes, micro Bitcoin. Will make, I trade it a lot. Um, I think it's a great contract. I think more people should trade it, especially starting off new, if you're a technical trader. You were going to say, Coach?
No, I was going to ask you the next question after that, actually. Ivy Bear. So your stop is 2 ATRs. How do you set your targets?
I'd go 2 to 1 for day trading. For swing trading, I go 12 to 1. Um, so also when I set that target, something in the volume might come up or might settle under a moving average that I got in on, and I'm out. So when I it's a wider stop than you probably see used, but I rarely get stopped out. And when I do, it's usually something very interesting happened. So
Yeah.
um, that's why I used it. But my target in day trading, it's 2 to 1. If I have two on, I'll get out at one at 2 to 1 and look for a little more. Today I got that in the S&P, um, and that helped a lot from because I lost in the crude oil. So I spread my risk. I trade different futures, but 2 to 1, 2 to 1 in a day trading frame work. With that
Great.
said, too, in day trading, I will not trade in front of major numbers. I'm just not. It's not going to happen. Not
Something
my
just happened
job.
at Crude, Coach.
Yeah, I just saw it
We just
down.
sold off $1.25 in Crude in the last
Yeah, I'm watching. It's right in
minute.
front of me. Yeah. Did it peace break out in the Middle East again?
Something happened. Was just pulling it up because
Yeah,
you mentioned you took a little bit of a loss in Crude today. Wow, that's a big move. Okay,
yeah,
I will be watching Crude tonight.
yeah. It just dropped at least $1 here.
Anyone sees any headlines, let us know. That's an interesting move for Crude at this time. Uh,
Yeah, we usually
hey
don't see that.
Danielle, welcome.
Hey, Danielle, we have some news.
I don't know. If someone can let us know if you see any news, we'll keep going with the analysis though. Here's Crude on the 30-minute open, this white box here. Actually, we'll make it like that because 50% was interesting today. Volume didn't leave this range for a little while, coach. Overnight, we kind of stayed in it, ranged around. We eventually left our London friends like they always like to do, uh, putting some volume in here in Crude, selling it off, maybe an opportunity to take it here at 4 a.m. Central Time. But we bounce right back into this range during the New York session. And we can see, right, by the time. So this is an interesting one here, right? Because we have volume picking up, but it never left the range. I've stopped preempting this trade as much as I can. I still do it. I've stopped preempting this because again, it presented a really nice opportunity. I just want to go with what the highest probability were. I didn't trade Crude at all. Um, but I'm not surprised at a revisit of this because by the time volume left this range, price was already so far away from it. that a lot of
It
times will get this.
also,
Go
coach,
ahead, coach.
it gapped open $1.50 or 80 cents
Yes, it did.
lower and then finished like $1.50 lower in the first half an hour.
Right.
So what I got to, but I came in long, um, and I just got out and didn't trade it again. But on a day trade, I didn't want to establish anything that low. It's just
Makes
there's
sense.
better opportunities. Although, I mean, look at that. I mean, it was whipsawing around. Big gap. Who knows? There could have been some liquidation here with that gap. We're on the 200-day moving average. Um, Waited as long as they could before they had to liquidate. But an interesting move, even with news or out news. That's a dollar break since we started this. Um, my gut tells me that's a liquidation. If you've ever,
We got back under that 200 moving average on the 30-minute. I know you like to be a seller under there,
mm,
for this reason.
yeah, and then we just keep pounding. Wow, it's 3.5, 320 lower now. So not a surprising move. It was heavy. Whatever fundamentals are, there's plenty of crude oil. We're at record production. It's in storage. It's there's not a shortage of crude. I don't, but I won't wax fundamentally. I understand the fundamentals, and I watch them. I've watched them for decades. Where I got into trouble was I traded on fundamentals thinking the market has to move this way. That was a very sore period in my life. Um, so that's why you hear me preach risk management. I came in long, I took my loss, I got out, and then if in my younger days, I'd probably be stubborn um, until either two things happen: you blow up the account,
Right.
or you come up, or you get lucky. Um, and I don't know about you, coach, but for me, it's hard for me to be consistently lucky. It's something I can't rely on.
No. You don't get to plan when luck happens. Sometimes when you're in the right place and you're good, you get something like this, right? Let's say I was short crude, just because based on something, right? Based on this, I don't know that that crude move is going to happen, but we have high volume here. I anchor VWAP to it, and what we've been saying is when you anchor VWAP and it's a flat line, fade the extremes of the range. So maybe I bought it down here, maybe I sold it up here. If I sell this up here and hold for the lows of the range, and the lows of the range just happen to do that, I didn't know that was going to happen. And if I had the idea that crude could push lower into 72, I didn't know that it was going to happen like this, right? So this is not repeatable to me, to any any degree of your control, right? This just happened. And you were good. You took your analysis and said, "Hey, I'm shorting at the highs," and then you got lucky, but you were good first. And we can't try to rely on this, where this might be a trade that makes your whole month, and then you try to make it every day and you give it all back plus some. So go with what's repeatable, and then when you're in the right spot, the market's going to give you more for doing your job.
And it's giving you more in the crude oil if you're short. We're now down $4 as we speak. It just keeps collapsing. And there we go. So this is a great time to go through this. What is the headline? I don't know. By the time I find out, I'm probably one of the last people that's going to know, right?
Right.
I'll give you the stories, in the pit. All of a sudden, but J.P. Morgan selling, or Cargill is selling. A big entity is just starts selling, and you're looking for an edge. You buy it, and you get immediately creamed. So you're like, well, I'll try it again, or it doesn't matter. That that's volume that's coming in, that's selling, and this isn't. As you notice, it's not ticking down. There's what's called sweeping. So they'll take 20 like in crude. They'll probably take the next 20 cents and sell every bid. You will not get a chance to get it.
Right.
They're not going to give you a chance. So just by the time we hear the news, it's it's almost too late to make a move on it. But if you're managing your risk and you bought this when we started this broadcast and you said, okay, I have a level here, but I'm not going to lose any more than $200 because I don't want to lose more than 10% of my account. You lost $200 and you traded well. I don't think this is said enough, but a losing trade can be a good trade.
So
If when we try to avoid losses, there's the large majority of the time they only become bigger because then we start relying on hope. Hope is a four-letter word, and then if coach, I think you've been there. Anybody out there, I'd say almost 95% know what I mean. So in our
and
mindset, being able to take good losses keeps you in the game. It's the bad losses that knock you out.
with you. I agree with you. Looking at crude oil, just gonna zoom out real quick, just because we did have this sell-off. We do have this higher time frame demand down here at 7150s. It looks like that was a bounce area before on a sell-off, but this one looks a little bit different, where that's a very sharp move into this. Uh, when the markets open up, will be very interesting to see uh, how crude oil responds, because then I'm also seeing this, which looks like the exact opposite move to the upside. The high of that being 70.46, 50% of it, 50%, 69.03. Uh, yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking at, where we made this imbalance and didn't really spend a lot of time there. So I would not be surprised at the market trading back into this area as well, right around $70 or $69, a little bit lower. We will see what happens. This obviously was something. Still, I haven't seen it in the chat, but coach, it was more sellers and buyers.
There's more offers than bids, right?
Right. Uh, we did just get a move in gold as well, not as dramatic as crude oil, but some nice selling in gold. So let's just go over gold. Here is last night's open in gold. Hopefully these patterns get boring enough for you guys. Where the market pushes lower into the lows of this range. This is the end of slow markets here. We have a pretty much flat VWAP, not leaving the range, giving opportunity to buy it. Um, let's say you did get short, because I know there are some traders as well, coach, that have been taking this trade off of a 3-minute candle.
Hmm.
Actually, today the volume never left the 3-minute range, right? Where this entire 30-minute range was caused in the first 3 minutes of gold opening.
Interesting, because I
Yeah,
watched both of those. So that and look at that volume, and that was right off the opening on a Sunday night, and big volume like that. So, uh, wow.
we sold off to. Give me 1 second here. Let me find the first of the month, because I believe where we sold off to was. Yep, there we go. Monthly VWAP. Green line is VWAP for the month.
Ah, well, that's a flat line, right to it, to the tick almost.
To the tick, yeah, we looked below it. So now going into tomorrow, I'm curious to see whether or not this still continues to hold as a support, or does it become a resistance? We've seen it be a resistance earlier in the month with a rejection here. we reclaim it, use it as a support. Uh, will be very interesting. But yeah, pretty much to the tick,
Mm,
minus a couple of points, bounce off of that monthly VWAP. It gave us a couple of opportunities for longs there. But again, extensions outside of this 30-minute range were not followed by volume. So what that means is find opportunities to short it at the highs, buy it at the lows of the range. Um, maybe if you short it at the high of this range here, you got stopped out. Nothing works 100% of the time. Make sure you manage your risk in between.
boy, it's gold. After we had a dramatic move Friday, it just doesn't the follow through. We've talked about this. I'll say it just doesn't have that pizzazz it had before because it would. I know it would just continue to rip. Still feel there's some liquidation going on here. If we look at the daily, I'd be interested how far we are from the 20-day moving average.
20
No,
day
it's
is
still
at
above it.
26.55 right now. Yeah, still above it. Um,
Hmm. Tomorrow's going to be a very interesting day.
kind of excited already to trade with
Yeah,
whatever's happening right now after we're closed going into slow markets and into tomorrow. Should be a pretty good trading day. With that being said, right, be patient. Don't rush into anything when the market's presenting opportunities. The worst thing I think you can do is try to rush into a trade. Use all your ammo before the really good opportunities, and then have to sit there with the stale face and watch the markets do exactly what you wanted them to do. So, uh, be patient in all of that, and allow the markets to present opportunities before you try to create one yourself. And I'm saying that to
coach,
myself as much as anybody else. What's up, coach?
is that a new saying? Stale face?
Uh, maybe, maybe not. I don't think
I
so.
like it.
I don't think I
Uh,
made that up, but I've had that face before where I'm like, it's doing exactly what I wanted it to, and I'm at a loss limit for the day. So, uh, just save your ammo for the good opportunities because the market will present them. Anything else you got on gold, coach? We did get some questions about Bitcoin. If we can do some analysis
let's
on
do some
Bitcoin from
Bitcoin
Roshi.
analysis.
I did see Roshi mention in the chat that you are coming over from crypto, so welcome to Topstep, and you want to focus on MBT, which I think is a great contract. And Coach Paul can talk about this. Coach, I'm gonna pass this one to you. Um, you're the MBT trader here. Really good contract to trade, and I think you would agree with Roshi on this.
Oh yeah. One thing for $50,000 combines, this fits the risk profile well. Um, you can trade micro Bitcoin, and maybe some people say, well, it's too slow. Well, trading. Let's go to the daily and see what the average true range on the daily contract is.
2741. 2741.
Dollars?
Yep.
Yeah, it's got some get up. So 27. Is that on the
Do the
micro?
Yeah, this is on the
Well,
micro. Let me do the math real quick. What's the best way I can do this? Give me 1 second here. Keep going through your analysis, coach. I'm gonna pull up a
so
chart that we can measure it, but go ahead.
all right, we're over the 200 in the daily. We've been chopping around it. Friday we settled above it, and from the get go, this from last night, it just exploded to the upside. Looks like it's breaking. It's right at a longer term trend off those highs from July. Um, it's got it's got some momentum. Um, Although I've got caught on both sides of this market lately, so I did buy it late last night. Um, Two little micros. I just, and I'm not bragging. It's up $144. It's big enough that I don't have to, small enough that I don't sit there and worry every moment. Um, but on if you do three to five minis, you can control your risk um, versus a NASDAQ where it could sneeze and you're blowing up $2,500 and a half. So
Right.
um, there's some volatility in it. Um, Plus, it's a known entity. Bitcoin's not going away.
Anytime soon.
It's not. And I'm not here to give a crypto argument either way. Telling you it has some volatility that you can afford to trade. I'm just surprised more people don't trade it. I mean, all the technicals are there. So let's look at today's action with the half hour.
Which, if you don't mind, I'm going to try to switch us over to a quant-hour chart just because we can measure exactly what the dollar amount risk was. Because
Okay.
I think it needs to be said and shown kind of what we're talking about here. So give me 1 second. I'm going to add another window to my OBS and get into it. All right, so you guys can see this chart here. I'm going to cover me and Coach Paul real quick, but we'll be back. Don't worry. All right, we're back. Um, Here is the micro Bitcoin chart, Coach. I'm going to switch this to a 30-minute chart. And last night's open, you can still see this, right?
Yeah.
Cool. There's last night's open. There's VWAP attached to it.
Well, once again, there's the opening. We've seen this. I don't, there's the opening. We slide lower. We get lower than the opening range, but volume does not follow. We get to the edge. Even if I, okay, and I've been guilty of this, I don't do it anymore, but it's going to go through right there. If we go to coach, move that chart to the right so we don't see, like right here, that looks like it's going to fall off the face of the earth. Um, but VWAP goes to the bottom of the opening range. What can we take out of that? They're selling. It hasn't pushed it lower. If I sell it here, what is my risk? And we can define that. Now, let's say was unlucky and I sold it at the low. And I put a stop in new highs.
How many do you want to sell, Coach?
Let's just go with one so we know.
Okay.
Just we can do multiples.
Selling it
So
here,
yeah,
risking a
and
high,
yeah, it's about $75, I think.
$60.
$60. All right.
I could afford that.
I can afford that now. Or if I sold the opening, what I'm saying to do what I'm trying to come here is the micro is not a bad place to learn how to trade. A matter of fact, I won't say that. It's a good place to learn how to trade without blowing up. If you're in a need to try and get funded immediately, that's a different story. But that's pressure where you have to be right. And if you have to be right, you're relying on luck. Yeah,
Unrealistic
all the four-letter
expectations.
words. But if you're here to learn how to trade and develop a process, and you've already done it and you want to go live, this is a great contract. So after that, what is that London again? No, that was the end of Asia. That was about 10 o'clock at night.
This
Some
is around 10. Yep, around 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock, whatever happened, an entity came in and swooped that up because it was quick. We close above it, and actually VWAP right on the opening was right above the opening range, and then we have another explosion.
You're buying
Um,
it here, 63,500, and you're risking lows. This is risking about $90 with a one lot. And again, the same setup that we've seen, Coach, but there it goes.
Man, it goes. That's about a $300, $250 winner. So I'm gonna bring that up. Yeah, if you do 2 lots, that's a $500 winner. Um, it has the volatility without the terror. It's a great place to trade. If you've come from the crypto world, and this is two great advantages here. You don't have to lock away your crypto and forget about your password. I just saw that guy again. He's still looking for the $500 million drive. He's just anyway. Yeah, you don't have to because I've done that. And why if you want exposure to Bitcoin because it moves, there's no better place to do it than futures. You have while you're day trading, you don't have to worry about clearing. Um, there's a clearing corporation in the futures. There's plenty of liquidity. Um, there's a bid and offer all the time, and it's more than enough for our needs. So Bitcoin again, it's looking like it wants to make another big run. But we go day to day was a great move on the buy side. You could actually sell. There were some sells there. Don't get me wrong. Um, but whatever side you want to trade, Bitcoin is a great futures contract to trade. Check it out. Matter of fact, like we said, it has the volatility, has the range. So
Just
welcome
look
if you're from the crypto world, and I think you'll do well.
It does look like it is pushing up to this higher time frame resistance area right around 67,000. So of course anything can and will happen. But coach, one thing we said when we started looking at micro Bitcoin in when we were doing this class in Discord almost, 8 months ago now, and I know you were focused on it a lot. It's starting to trade like the equities markets.
Yeah, it
Here
was.
is the New
Yeah,
York New York session open, and there's technically no open for Bitcoin, right? It's a 24/7 market. But if we trade it like the equities, here's 8:30 Central Time, 8:30 a.m., 3-minute opening range, volume left the range. Technical analysis can apply to any market. This could be milk futures, this could be orange juice, this could be anything, right? The same technical pattern applies. Volume left that range, and on a one lot, if I risk the other side of the opening range, that was 19 bucks, $20. Um, and that's two ATRs if I get long at the high. And maybe I didn't get long here, right? Because I need to close outside of the range. Maybe I got long here. Still making a new low. I'm risking $46 for a 3-to-1 trade at the highs. You can trade multiple lots. And of course, don't go here and say, "Oh, micro Bitcoin's easy, so I'm going to trade 15 lots." Then that kind of defeats the purpose. But really nice market to trade. And thank you for sharing that, Coach. This is Quantower that I'm showing. I just wanted to show the measurement tool on Quantower just so we could see the dollar amount. But thank you for that, Coach. And we will go back to Top X charts. Look at that production value. Switching charts with a click of a
wow,
button.
you're like a professional.
Right? Danielle, you watching? I'm an influencer now. Um, I think we got all of the markets out of the way. Platinum is still going to be on my scouting report because it has just been moving pretty nicely over the past couple of days. So I'm going to continue to watch it, see if it presents some opportunities to trade, maybe something I can put on and hold because I do like the tick value in platinum. I can trade a 1 or 2 lot overnight and feel pretty comfortable in that trade. Anything you're looking at right now, Coach, on a scouting report?
Well, I'll throw a shout out to Coach Hoop and congratulations on your draft, Coach Hoop.
Yes, sir.
Um, joining the VIP. I'm sure you will do very well. A lot of experience with Coach Hoop, and we talk every now and again, and he brought up hogs. So let's bring up that pig. Uh,
Let's look at it.
you
Uh,
know,
here we go.
It's
White
that
line.
white it's that white line. Right to it. Big break today. Gap lower. Um, let's look at the 3 minutes, see if we wow.
It was a beautiful trade today. And cattle was actually a pretty nice trade as well. Was not as clean as this, but yeah, this is we haven't looked at this in a while. But go ahead, coach. You got it.
For those of you who know, we will look at different markets when we have the time. A part of it is that there is plenty of opportunity. If you're new to futures, it covers all the asset classes. There's if you're now, I'm not suggesting if you new jump market to market, get an idea, pick a market, and get your routine. It's like, but once you have a routine and you're looking for opportunity, if you're, I'll give you there. I'll give you an example. Has anybody out there ever heard of Tom Baldwin?
Can't say I have.
Tom Baldwin was the god of bond futures. He trade thousands up at a time, $1 million a minute swings. He was huge. Um, he was one of the biggest trader in the world, and then this is the 80s into the early 90s. When this is in the 30-year bonds. When they at one time they changed it, the Fed changed or the government changed their financing from 30-year futures or 30-year bonds to 10-year. And the bond pit went away and became and went electronic. Two things happened. Volume moved from off the floor to computer, and the 30-year was not the key finance instrument for the government. Tom Baldwin could not make the adjustment. The market went away. He started trading stocks, and he's still a wealthy man, but he lost a chunk of his fortune, from what I've heard. But why I bring that up is no matter what market you're in, you can only be as good as that market at that time. Um, so having the ability to look at different markets and use your strategy to find opportunity is a it's it's like having multiple tools in your toolbox. If all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. Um, so develop as you go, develop, start. That's why we look at different markets, and this is a classic example. This is flow out. Someone, this is some liquidation in hogs. Started from the first 3 minutes. Excuse me.
We see that view up give us a couple opportunities to sell against it, right? Where we've seen this in other markets. Um, and I know for me myself personally, I started to look away from this market. Coach, you still there? I think you're on mute.
Oh, another $5.
Uh, we started to. I personally started to look away at this because the market slowed down a little bit. I need to join Coach Hoop's session and see what the seasonality is for hogs, but it's the same trade. It's an opening range breakout trade, right? Where volume didn't go with it, it broke. Volume goes, same trade, same trade again today. We can look back. This is October 9th. Um, where it applies everywhere. And again, maybe not a market you ever looked at before. If you do trade it, I would suggest, trading it in a practice account. Anything we mentioned, and it's a market that you have not traded before. Don't set the expectation that, oh yeah, this market looks great. I'm going to make money from it right away. But there's opportunity in it, right? And these are some of the cleanest trades. Yeah, there's no guessing here, Coach. I think one of the reasons, and I've heard you say this, there's no speculation here. in hogs, right? There's these trades are happening out of necessity, and when there's necessity, there's no indecision. It's like, no, I have to get this done for my business, whether it's a hedge, or whatever it is. When trades happen out of necessity, there's direction, clear direction in them.
So there, yeah, clear and right off the bat. So I call it liquidation. Someone just wants to get out, um, and they got out. You know, it's interesting though. Later in the day, selling stopped. We got above VWAP.
That was my bad. I was just
Oh, so
I was
another
doing chart
example.
review. We never stopped selling today. Yeah.
Well, we didn't. Okay, so no need. We never got back above VWAP. So interesting. The other day we got above VWAP. That's a place to cover here. If you really wanted to, you could keep your stop there and say, "Get me out at the close." Um, I tend to do that, um, but that's me. That's my style. Um, if it gets to 2 to 1 on a day trade, yeah, take it. Take the money and go buy some pork chops for dinner, s- and a bacon cheeseburger for lunch, um, and thank the pig. Um, so Coach Hoop was been talking about this last week. Nice trade, Coach Hoop. Um, and tune in
Coach
to his. Excuse me, I'm starting to cough.
Sorry. Coach Hoop says $73 cash target. I'm hearing we shall see. Looking at this 200 moving average from a technical perspective, right below where we are right now, kind of at that $75 level. This is on the 30-minute chart, and if we go back, we can see what happens at that 200 moving average. Either it holds as a support, or we sell through it, and then it is a resistance. So watching this level here in hogs. Not a market that we've talked about, I don't think, since we've been on YouTube, but presents some really good opportunities. Seems like a joke sometimes, where it's just like how you're trading hogs, but the money's still green if you can make it. So uh, doesn't matter
By the way,
what.
hog futures have been around for 50 years. Um, Cattle for longer. Uh, so futures markets have been ag markets have been around a lot longer than stock markets.
Yep.
Um, Ag markets are different in the point that they cycle, versus equities, which are designed to go up. Either way, they're great markets. But as Coach Jay just said, if you choose to go in there, I highly recommend trading it in practice account so you get to understand the value of the ticks.
We are at time. Do remember tomorrow we have Dr. Brett Steenbarger on Topstep TV at 11 a.m. Central Time. Definitely check that segment out. It'll be recorded, so you can always go back and watch it if you can't catch it live. Um, Dr. Steenbarger is going to be on with Anne Marie and Hogue, which will be a great segment as it always is. So I definitely suggest to check that out. And if you want to submit some questions, I'm going to put a link in the chat for you to submit your questions to Dr. Steenbarger. If you have the opportunity to submit something there, right? Uh, he's a busy guy, a world renowned trading psychologist. It would be pretty cool to get your question answered by him. And again, 11 a.m. Central Time for that session. Uh, but I think we're done here. Remember, we do have classes in Discord. Coach Hoop is going to go at 4:30 Central Time today in Discord. Then we have Coach Ray at 6 p.m., Coach Vince at 7, and of course, Coach Dakota with slow markets at 7:30 Central Time, and then Deanna with the London Open at 3:30 a.m. Central. A ton of content on for you. I'm not on Top Step TV tomorrow. I will be on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, uh, but not tomorrow. I'm going to just be tuning in, watching, taking notes from Dr. Steenbarger. Coach, you got anything before we go?
Um, yeah, everybody, have a good day tomorrow. Focus on your bottom line. If you got something out of today's broadcast, we're glad to hear it. If you have questions and we didn't get to it, please ask them again tomorrow.
Sure. Hit that thumbs up button on the way out. Enjoy the rest of your night, and we will talk to you all tomorrow. Bye.
All right.